How you doing?
Good.
All right, welcome, everyone chiming in. Woohoo! First time live, upstate New York. What is a Jeff Smith? Funny you should ask. We happen to have a Jeff Smith here, and we get to talk to him tonight about DSP. So, I'm gonna, you know what? Let me fix this because that's gonna kill my OCD. You're good.
Okay,
I was just making. Yeah.
Got it. Sorry.
So, why don't you take a couple of minutes here and fill in. Just tell everyone who you are, so that they kind of have a good background and they'll enjoy the Jeff Smith.
I'm just some guy.
Just some guy. Just some guy.
Jeff Smith. I am the. Let's see. I've been in the industry for. God, this is 2021 now. So this will be 1990 would be 31 now. Yeah, it'll be 31 years this coming August. Man, jeez. Every time I say that, it's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I know. I'm in the same boat.
Yeah, it's crazy. You know, all around audio guy. Been in the industry for a long time. You know, been a competitor, sound cue judge for a really long time. So audio is my life. You know, I enjoy system designing and system tuning. Worked in the retail business, many different places over the years. Now my current 9 to 5 is being the global director of training for Amp Global, which is basically the conglomerate for a lot of 12-volt companies you guys see Dean and Fernando talking about a lot. You know, Stinger, Pack, iSimple, Phoenix Gold, Echo Master, you know, all those brands. So
They don't know.
Oh, they don't know.
They know now.
They know now.
They know now.
Yeah.
So, Fernando is out today, as you can clearly see. It's his anniversary, so we'll all wish him a happy anniversary on Monday on the Facebook show that we do at 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. And we can answer all the questions that you guys are really hoping that we're going to answer today. We're not going to answer those because we have Jeff Smith here as tuner extraordinaire. He also has a Helix system in his car with some audio fraud components, two brands of which are super hot right now. And well, since we don't get to play with them all that often, and he is an expert in both of those now because he's been playing with them for a while, we thought it'd be great to have him on and let him talk to us about these things, and also maybe give us some tips, tricks, and helpful ideas as far as when we're trying to tune our system to make it sound better. Sound about right?
Sounds about right.
That's a hell of a sales pitch. So without further ado, let's just jump in and, well, all right, so to preface all that, if you guys have questions and stuff, try to save those until the end when we talk about that. But if you have questions like systems design and all the questions you normally ask, let's save those until Monday, and we'll deal with all those then. Because, I mean, trust me, the opportunity to have him here and give us this information, let's take advantage of it and let's have some fun. All right, so first off, let's start with what is in your car at the moment.
At the current moment, this iteration of the vehicle, so the stock head unit, first and foremost, the stock 2019 JBL head unit in my Toyota Camry XSE.
Why are you using the stock head unit?
So I decided to keep the stock head unit first and foremost because it's beautiful, right? It's a part of a big glass dash in my Camry that is the expanse of the dashboard in that vehicle. So it's beautiful 10-inch display. It had everything in the world I wanted as far as vehicle features. So since Pack, under our Amp brand, makes the Amp Pro that allows retailers and consumers to integrate into the factory premium JBL system without any need for cutting into wiring, load resistors, or anything else, it takes the pure digital signal and routes it back out in a low-level way for RCA, right? You get 3 sets of RCAs, front, rear, sub, 4-volt or 5-volt. And then you get the option for optical output, right? So that was the main reason for keeping my factory head unit, was so that I can get a pure digital optical signal out of the head unit using the Amp Pro, the AP4 TY13 R2.
Oh, yeah, the R2.
R2. So
D2?
No, just R2. So the new R2 it's been in my car for a very long time. The R2 changes from the previous R1, right? So the new version actually has the new harness that plugs in behind the head unit instead of at the amplifier.
Yeah, so this is the version 1.
Right.
I just so happen to have it here.
Yep.
Which uses this harness.
Correct, yeah. This harness here it allowed when the Camry first came out, it was a different beast than my previous Camry.
Yes.
Right, so the TY13 had to be created, and its initial harness plugged in directly at the amplifier. The issue with this was that Toyota only put my particular JBL amplifier in about 3 different models, which doesn't really give a product enough legs to really be viable when it only fits 3 different cars, right? So we kept waiting and waiting and waiting until we could figure out what the commonality was and when the parts were available. And since this is available now, we were able to create the R2 version that has the harness that plugs in behind the head unit. So factory head unit, AP4 TY13 R2, optical via Stinger optical cable out to the amplifier that plays my front stage, which is a Helix P6 MK2. All right, so the Helix P6 MK2 is a 6-channel DSP amplifier with 8-channel DSP built inside of it, right? So it's 120 watts by 6 at 4 ohms and 230 by 6 at 2 ohms. Then there are 2 channels out of it to the second amplifier, which is a Helix P1. And the Helix P1 is identical to the P6 as far as chassis size, and it plays the subwoofer system in my vehicle.
So this is it here.
Correct. Very tiny chassis. I shouldn't say tiny. It's a very compact chassis.
I was gonna say it's
decent size. It's
by today's standards, it's not tiny.
Yeah, it's not
by
tiny.
Yesterday's standards, it's tiny.
Yeah, I mean it's small enough that I can fit them into very unique places. So both of these amplifiers are under the seat, so you literally see nothing in the vehicle.
So this has the optical in here on the side.
It does have optical in. So I only added one additional thing, which is really neat about the Helix brand of amplifiers. I actually added an HEC card, right? So I added the HEC card.
What is that?
So the HEC card, if you go to accessories, Helix accessories.
Yeah, I know you're gonna lose me on this.
Go over one more
Helix.
down to accessories. Yep, there you go.
Accessories.
Yep. And scroll down to I have a director. The director controls all my presets. Yep. So the director is plugged into the P6, and it allows me to store up to 22 presets. Right?
And you're using all 22, I'm sure.
I'm not using all 22, but I currently have about 10 loaded inside of it, and I'll tell you why in a minute. So this is master volume, sub-level control. It gives you complete control as far as being able to select, and tailor your sound at the touch of a button. Okay, so I added the...
Keep going.
There we go, HD audio, that one.
This one?
Yep, that one. So what this piece allows you to do, it allows you to use the USB DAC input. So it bypasses all of the DAs from your from whatever musical device, right? Your media device, right? So I use mine along with my iPhone, right? And typically on the iPhone, you can't store high-res files.
Unless
unless you do an app and you put the high-res files in there. So I use the Onkyo app.
Yes.
And I load all my FLAC files, DSD files, things like that.
Not all yours, some of yours.
Some of mine.
I was going to say.
Some of mine, because that big
eats
hard
up
drive.
space real quick.
Yeah, that big hard drive I let Fernando borrow for his GS9.
Yeah.
Lots of music. But yeah, so anyway, it allows me to use my phone, and you can use Apple or Android, and you have to have a specific cable. So in my particular application, I use the Apple camera cable, and what that does, that bypasses the internal DA converters in your iPhone and allows you to go full bandwidth audio output out into whatever device is downstream. So with the HEC plugged into my Helix P6, correct, this guy right here. So with this guy plugged into the bottom of my phone, here, it actually allows me to now go USB.
Hold on, I gotta... It's not... This is Fernando. There we go.
There we go. It allows me to go USB Type A out to USB Mini.
Okay.
Right? And this allows me to go full resolution up to 192 kilohertz, 36 bit rate into the Helix.
All right, so say that again.
So it basically allows me to have a high-res player higher than the audio capabilities of my factory radio.
Correct.
Right. So
even with Toslink output.
Even with Toslink, right? So with Toslink, I'm limited to the capabilities of my head unit or the DA converter in the Amp Pro, right?
Correct.
So having that ability to go further and beyond that, now we're talking high res. So when you're talking, guys are buying the $1,200 Sony GS9, any of the
Fernando.
any of the Kenwood Exelon units that play DSD and other brands out there that really tout high-res audio capabilities. So with me keeping the factory radio, I knew my limits, but if I wanted more, so that's why I added the HEC card.
So let's take a tangent here real quick,
okay.
And let's talk about, because everyone is curious about high-res and DSD and all that, and you were talking about bit rate.
Correct.
So a standard CD is...
Standard CD is 44.1 kilohertz at 16 bits.
So it's a 16-bit depth.
16-bit depth. Yeah, 16-bit depth rate.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's still depth.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
All you video game guys know all this stuff.
Yeah.
Because like you're like, dude, I need to get the latest PlayStation because it's got the bit depth on that is insane.
Yeah.
All right, so. Forever and ever, the CD was like the coolest thing in the world.
Correct, because tape was way less than that.
Tape was way less than that,
right?
And then we all decided to go Bluetooth, which was like going worse than tape.
Correct, and most Bluetooth streaming receivers and transmitters now, like you have like some of the really nice ones, like the AMAS, right, from Moscone, that allows you to go up to. I think they spec it at 96.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
So, yes.
If you want the Bluetooth dongle for your system,
right,
be prepared to pass out when you see how much this thing costs.
Yeah, the AMAS 96K.
AMAS 96K, and it'll work with anybody's system. So it's unique. It has
Bluetooth
fiber optic out, and it has RCA, and yeah, it's insane. Right. But anyways, so all right, so we know what a CD is. Let's talk about what a standard FLAC file is.
Standard FLAC file. So this is this is one of the things I have to explain to some of the people at work sometimes. So FLAC, you can actually start FLAC at 48K.
Correct.
Right? 48K is the minimum for FLAC, which is still better than CD,
yes.
Right? But you gain the bit depth of 24-bit at 48K. Then you can go from 48K up to 88K, right? So that's the standard bit rate, which is double plus a little bit of what a standard CD would be, right? So the High 10 and the previous Elevate, their stock minimum FLAC playback capability is 88K.
At 24-bit.
At 24-bit.
Okay.
Right? Now you go up to 96, right?
Which is weird.
96 is the standard, in my opinion.
Yes.
When you go out to any of the high-res streaming websites to download music, whether it be...
yes, let's just keep moving.
Whether it be Pro Studio Masters or...
They're 9624.
Yeah, 9624. I can't believe I blanked on that. As much money as I spend with these.
Yeah, I know.
So
he spends the money. I just borrow them.
So I was still thinking about it. Anyway,
let it go.
So 9624 is the standard for high-res FLAC files, right? So from there you go up to 120. There's like a 124. Yes. But this particular part from Helix, the HD audio piece, it allows you to go up to 196K 36-bit rate.
36-bit. Wow.
36-bit, right? So, and it's funny that, I mean, people will say what they want to say as far as, oh, you can't hear past a certain point.
We're not even going to go there.
Yeah, we're not going to go there.
That's not even a discussion I don't want to waste time on. Because
but this is a add-on piece. I really like this part because it just drops right into the DSP. You don't have to do anything else. You you unscrew the side of the DSP. It actually comes with a new side panel that has an opening in it to plug this USB port into it. Rock and roll, good to go.
Now, a DSD file is very similar to a FLAC file. It's just a different form of encoding.
Correct, and a DSD file can hold even more information than a FLAC file. So think about MP3, right?
Yep, a hair.
CD.
Like this.
Right?
Yep.
Your standard FLAC file, DSD file, right? So, I mean...
You're not storing a lot of them on your
No.
On your phone.
No. I think I probably have maybe like...
You got Hotel California.
20, 30. Spanish Harlem.
Oh my God, dude! Fernando just finally found that song.
Really?
I've been hiding from it.
He's gonna hate himself after about a week. Trust me.
I've been hiding it from him forever because I'm like, I just don't want to hear this song in the car.
Yeah.
All right. So
P6.
P6.
Out to the P1, which is the sub amplifier. So it's identical in size to the P6, 1500 watt mono at 1 ohm.
Wow, really?
Yeah, 1500 watts at 1 ohm.
Let's go back to this P6 for a second. And so it has the inputs here on this side.
Correct. It has high level, 6-channel high level input. It also has 6-channel low level RCA input with independent or per pair of gain input adjustments.
Yeah.
Right. And it can only store 2 presets inside of it. Okay.
Okay. So that's why you need the control.
So that's what that little control switch is for. You can literally, if your
between
customer
the two.
wants to just walk back there or wherever the amplifier is and touch it, you can switch between the green preset and the red preset and toggle between the two. Or you can get the URC3, the little standard controller, and it has a master volume and a sub level and a volume and a mode switch, right?
And then when you flip the amp around, that's where you find your pre-output to go to your to your 1.
Correct, exactly. Yep, and you have remote output capabilities and all your power and everything else.
Does that take a 4 gauge?
That does take a 4 gauge.
Okay.
Yep, 4 gauge input. And speaker wires would take up to 12 gauge with no problem.
Because we all need 12 gauge in our
All
car.
need 12 gauge, right? Just don't run into the door of a Camry. Do not. All right, so those are the amplifiers in the vehicle. Speakers in the vehicle are Audio Frog GB series, and you guys, most of the guys out there in cardio land know about the GB series. This is the
Gary
highest.
Biggs?
Yeah, Mr. Gary Biggs. So of course Andy Waymeyer and Gary were the initial founders of this Audio Frog brand, and I have the GB10 OE. OE.
Old English?
Not Old English this time. So it's the OEM version of the GB10. So I originally purchased the GB10 and then had the little pods made, and then I wanted to compete in a certain class in EMA, but it requires you to keep staying completely stock in appearance. So the GB series, Andy makes the same tweeter in the OE version that will drop right into a most factory locations. It just takes the big chrome housing off and all the other big pieces that make it really nice and pretty, and allows you to just drop it into an OEM location.
Now, the reason why they put all that chrome baffling on the back is it is a baffle.
It is a sealed enclosure. It is so the tweeter itself is sealed.
Yes.
Right. But that housing is part of the.
This was the original you had?
No, that's the GB15.
Okay.
Yeah, go back to the previous GB10.
Okay. I can't do that.
Scroll up.
I'm working.
So GB10 are the tweeters.
These.
Yep. Then I have the GB25.
All right, but we're
okay.
So when you go from the baffled tweeter like this to I'm assuming yours is more of an open.
It is still sealed.
Okay.
But it's just a little smaller.
So it doesn't change the sound of the tweeter.
Nope. Still sounds just like the original.
Okay.
Right. The only difference is that like it doesn't come with the big fancy grill and anything. It's meant to go back into a stock location and still give you the exact same sound as the bigger version.
This is cool. This piece here.
Andy and Gary, let me tell you,
the
process in this particular set of speakers is to be able to include all the mounting hardware and everything else that comes in these speakers is incredible, right? There's Oscar's little baffles there for Juan's truck.
Yeah, that was why he contacted me.
Yeah.
He was like, "Is it all right if I stole your idea?" I'm like, "Yes, please."
Yeah, he's actually getting really good with his laser, man.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I was like, "God, yes." Yeah. He wanted to make sure I wasn't going to get upset. I'm like, okay. "No, God, you should have told me. I would have sent you the file."
Yeah. So those are the tweeters in the stock A-pillars. From there, I have the GB25 in the stock dash location for the mid-range that fires up in the stock location. So I had originally made those little baffles, the little mounts to go into the dash, and then I came over and was talking to you that day, and you were like, "Oh."
Yeah.
Made me a new set.
Oh, God, please.
Yeah.
Please. Please, darling. Darling, no, darling. Darling,
you
this
busted
is not
out the laser and cut me a new set of black acrylic ones.
Scan.
Right?
I was adding them all there. Darling, please.
Yeah.
Oh, this old garbage. Throw it away.
Exactly.
We must make something new.
So one of the things in the dash of that car that I did that I don't talk about very often. So I bolted into the dash, right? It works without a problem. But the sound quality competitor in me was like, all right, you got to do something to make sure that this speaker does not resonate in its mounted location. All the sound travels forward, things like that. Of course, had a little fast ring. Made one out of foam to make sure all the audio goes straight out of the grill. Cut all the extra plastic off the back of the grill. But what I did from there is I took the driver out and I took about I'm gonna say 2 fistfuls. I'm roughly quarter pound maybe.
Quarter pounder?
Not quarter pounder, but yeah.
Okay.
Of the stuff from Black Hole, which is a Orca company, right?
Yes.
And what that will do is that will help diffuse the back wave of the driver so that you don't get echoes and strain sounds in the dash.
So it's basically what you guys, if you want to think of it, it's insulation.
Correct.
Like a jute style insulation.
Correct.
This is the stuff that Nick would put in his doors, in the pockets in his doors.
No, she did not. So that's what's under my drivers.
Now,
right?
did you put any like duct tape or bag, or you just letting gravity work its?
So
because I know the air vent's underneath it.
The air vent is underneath it. So this stuff is literally so dense as far as holding itself together. There's so much packed in there that it keeps itself. I mean, it's jammed into all the corners.
You'd make a bird mom proud.
I definitely made a nice bird's nest in the dash under the driver. And then from there, I took some of the Stinger foam that comes in the Ultimate kit. So it would be the what we call overkill foam. And then that seals around the driver to make sure no air leaks up around the driver.
Really?
Yep.
I have to see that.
Yep. So there's that material as well to kind of just make sure it's completely sealed. And then, of course, the mid basses are the GB60s. This 6-inch mid bass, I'm telling you, it's a monster.
It is.
Right?
Oh, there's no question.
It's a monster. So in my previous Camry, the 14.5, I had the Illusion C3CXs and the Illusion.
I ordered a set of those.
Yeah, the new ones?
Yeah.
Oh, dude, they're awesome.
Yeah, I don't know. It's another story, but
right.
Yeah.
So, and I had the C8s, right, the 8-inch mid bass. To go from the 8-inch mid bass, and I talked to Andy multiple times about this, and have I ever told you a story of why I decided to use Audio Frog?
No.
Okay. So I've, like I said, sound quality judge, been to many shows, years and years, and I know Andy, love Andy, know Gary, love Gary, known these guys for years, competed with and against these guys for years, and I literally saw, and this is no disrespect to anyone, I'm just giving you my personal opinion, I have been in more than a dozen vehicles that had these drivers in them, and I'm like, what's the hype? Like,
yeah,
what
ribbit?
Yeah, like, I know Andy wouldn't make a crappy product, but, and it's always someone else's opinion, right? So when you go to a sound off, it's always that judge's opinion,
correct,
based upon his reference of the material that we're using, and I'm just like, okay, I mean, okay, C+. You know, C+ in my, you know, like,
oh wow, C+.
Right.
You passed.
And then
just leave.
And then I got to finally listen to Andy's Mercedes at Knowledge Fest in Dallas, I think it was.
Yeah.
And I was blown away. I'm like, why is it every car that I've heard your speakers in sounds like... I'm like, are you kidding me? And he goes, I have to do this whole tuning thing, explain to people like how to do it because they're making me look bad.
Yeah.
Right? In essence. So I was like, you know what? Now that I know that these drivers can really sound like this, I'm going to give it a go.
Okay.
Right?
So you took the plunge.
So I took the plunge in 2018, even before I got this car. I was going to put in the other car. So
yeah, because I think I built the set for the dash. No, those were the Illusions.
Yeah, the Illusions. Yep. So I went ahead and got the drivers in early 2018, and when I got the car at the end of 2018 and started working on it then. But dude, it was a night and day difference. If you follow the tuning process, and the tuning process it's Andy's tuning process, and it's not necessarily for his drivers only. It's a process of getting the same results or expected results every time to have a baseline. And then from there, you just salt and pepper it the way that your customer wants to listen to their music, right? So it's it's just one of those things, and it's all on the Audio Frog website.
That's where I was
in the technical section, I think it is.
Audio Frog U.
Yeah, Audio Frog. Well, Audio Frog U is the class. That's where I met Oscar and Juan from Jay's Tent in Dallas.
Yeah. Tech Docs. There we
yep.
go. All right, so yeah, it's all right here.
So yeah, back when there was no COVID and we actually could travel and do things, I actually went to Andy's school, Audio Frog U, and my good buddies from Canada, Autumn and Justin from B&B Distribution were there, and a few other guys, and we had a great time, man. And Andy's super cool, and
Bro.
Andy's like the most laid back guy, man.
Bro.
Just
he's a California
super
surfer.
Cool, laid back.
And he probably doesn't even surf.
Right.
All right, so now we have a good understanding as far as, do you have rear speakers?
I do not currently have rear speakers.
He's a big advocate for rear speakers.
Yeah, subwoofers.
Oh yes, what are you running for subs?
So subwoofers is a constantly.
If you don't want to talk about that,
subwoofers are constantly changing this situation because I'm trying to finalize the setup.
So if you don't want to give the setup away, I totally understand. You do have
because no, I'll give him full credit
right.
because I mean I have the build. It's my vehicle. I can choose and play around with anything I want. But I'm currently in the process of developing a subwoofer system with the Kicker L7T drivers.
8-inch.
10-inch.
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 How many?
Three of those 10-inch drivers. They are not built for this application, but with all of the specs that I'm able to gather from their website and talking with Joe at Kicker, I'm going to use them in an IB setup.
Infinite baffle for those of you guys,
Right.
which I know a lot of you guys are infinite baffle crazy out there. So why don't we take 5 minutes and we'll talk about infinite baffle for a minute and why in the sound quality world infinite baffle is so sought after.
So IB is a loose term.
Very.
Right, loose term. So I'm going to lean on one of my industry buddies here, Matt Bogart from Image Dynamics, who would kill me. We've been buddies for a long time, and he taught me a lot about IB along the years, and I had learned a lot, previous to meeting Matt. But technically, in most vehicles that you see guys building a board behind the seat, right, or in the rear deck, an IB system uses the trunk as the enclosure, right? Really big, huge, loosey sealed enclosure, right? But technically, that term shouldn't be IB; it should be TB.
TB.
Trunk baffle.
Okay.
Trunk baffle, because you're using your trunk as the enclosure, and you're sealing the front wave from the back wave that way.
Which is the most important part.
Which is the most important part of the IB system is sealing.
And the hardest thing to do.
Now, for those guys who now, because of like Peter over in the UK and guys here in the US that are really, I think Peter in the UK is really pushing these guys in the IB world to really start to cut their cars up now. Peter has, and when I went to the UK 2 years ago to get certified in a judge and to judge the UK finals, it was my first time getting to see Peter's Honda Accord with two 15s or 18s, I think they're 15s at that point, cut through the rear hatch. So the driver's plate outside the vehicle.
Say what?
The cones face outside the vehicle, right? They're inverted.
Oh, okay.
So they're truly IB.
So the car is the box.
The car is the box at this point in time, right? So another guy, Shannon Price, just did his vehicle. I saw him post a video up where he just did a single 18 in his, forget what vehicle he has, but holy beep. When you go truly IB,
yeah,
dude, like there's tracks, like we all get a bass system, right? We put in 20 hertz, right? We see.
Okay, so let's talk about. All right, so we kind of give an idea of what IB is, but
okay, so
what makes IB so sought after?
So IB is going to be the best way to get the most low-end extension in a vehicle. Okay, so a ported enclosure is going to play the tune frequency and slam off right after that, right?
Yes.
And then you still have to deal with the cabin gain, right? Cabin gain is going to boost, those certain particular frequencies around the tuning frequency. Sealed enclosure is going to be a smoother roll off, right? So it's going to play a wide variety of music and blend with the mid bass attack a lot easier. IB, since it's a loosey or large sealed enclosure, is still going to have good mid bass to sub bass transition, but the low end extension on the right driver is going to play lower with more authority and be super flat.
Now that's not to say louder.
Not to say louder at all, but it is, if you have, and this is why guys are doing 215s, 218s, single 18,
to get the sound
310s,
pressure of, let's say, a 10 in a ported box.
Correct. So you have to do the cone area, right?
Right.
You have to have massive cone area, and you have to have good power and a very efficient driver. But that really low end, when I say low end, I'm talking 30 and below. And when I say below, I mean until the cows come home. I'm talking low. Like,
you hearing that?
Yeah, it's just air at that point in time. And when you put in and this is like Shannon put a video up today. I saw him doing the bag trick, not a hair trick, but the bag trick. Open his window a little bit to move air, and he held a 10 hertz, 12 hertz flat, just moving in so much air it keeps the bag suspended in the air at his window. Right, so
his eardrums must love him.
So IB is just one of those things, super low end extension, and like El Fuego just said, MTX IB's been around for years.
For
right?
years.
So
Orion used to make the IB.
Orion IBs,
XTR
right?
IBs.
Man, those
Nathan
are great
had
subs.
4.
Yeah, great subs, because that's what you would do in the back of a
Big
Camaro,
ass
right?
magnet.
The old school Camaro.
Oh
right?
yeah, drop it right in the bottom.
Yeah, you do a plate and you drop
super
2
simple.
subs right on top,
Put a
right?
bunch of power on it.
JL had their IB series. Almost all the manufacturers back in the day, that was a huge deal. Was doing IB woofers, and it's still a thing now.
So it sounds like the secret to IB is, for one, isolate the front wave from the back wave is 100%. The most important thing.
Best seal you can do, whether the guys do it with spray foam, Dynamat, whatever. Seal it up completely.
If you want it to be loud, you need more woofer than you would think you'd
Cone area is the key if you want it loud.
But regardless, you're going to get the most flat frequency response down lower than you will in any other situation.
Correct.
That is why it is sought after.
Very
for
good
SQ.
low end extension. Very good low end extension. So I mean, it's out there and it's capable. One of the very good. There's a lot of off-brand companies. I hate to say that, but because they're
smaller companies.
No. They're true audio companies. They're just not traditional car audio companies. Like, guys don't know about, well, some of the SPL guys know about Phi car audio.
Yeah, Phi.
And then know about AE and some other brands like that. But probably some of the best everyday free air drivers that you can get your hands on. Image Dynamics still makes their ID Max and ID Series. They all work very good free air.
Hand-built.
Hybrid Audio, their Claris 15 and Claris 12, still very good IB woofers. And believe it or not, Gladen has a 12 and a 15 that's strictly built for IB use that is amazing. And then for those who are budget conscientious, Parts Express has Dayton Audio. The Dayton Audio Ultimax and all that stuff.
I just hate the DSP. That's it. Nothing else. The rest of the stuff is fine.
Dayton Audio has some good drivers, man. But yeah, they're Ultimax and
Acoustic Elegance.
Acoustic Elegance, yeah, that's AE. So yeah, so there's a lot of drivers out there that are good for
stereo integrity and eminence.
Never used stereo integrity drivers before. I've seen them. Never had a chance to work with them. Eminence is just old school loud back in the day when, I mean,
we went on the field trip yesterday. We saw them.
You'd see, you know, lowriders, you know, with Eminence, a wall of Eminence 15s.
Did you say Eminence front? It's a put on.
Reference, you guys don't know. But yeah.
Who doesn't know? Anyways, okay, so thank you for, all right, so for all you guys that have been curious about IB, I think we've pretty much hammered the IB thing. We're gonna let Jeff wake his computer back up, and we're gonna dig deep now into tuning process. There again, you can head over to Audio Frog, this place right here, look for the tech blog Frog, and there you can learn a bunch of neat stuff. Andy does a great job of putting out tons and tons of information. If you don't follow him on Facebook, I strongly recommend it. You will get tons of audio information along with tons of information about politics. If you're not the politic guy, just disregard all that and just stick to when he talks about audio, because anytime he starts talking about audio, it is going to be a ton of information, and it will be a post from now to the end of time. He's done a really good job of taking all that information and moving it over to the Audio Frog page, though, so definitely check it out. All right, so
I tell you real quick, who else has a lot of helpful audio knowledge on their page? JL Audio.
Oh yeah,
JL Audio's Zendesk. They have a lot of very good articles. And YouTube videos.
A lot of, like, Kicker has Kicker U, which has a ton of awesome, real simple to digest information. So there's a lot of it out there. RTTI from Rockford, if you can get past all the product commercial part of it and just into the nuts and bolts of it, they do a lot. So there is a lot of stuff out there to be had. And of course, Educar, if you want to pay, you can go to Educar at Teachable.
Ken breaks it down. Ken's a really good guy as well.
It's the best $20 you're ever going to spend. Okay, so what I was getting at is we're going to now dig deep into his DSP settings on the Helix amplifier, and he's going to help us explain his process a little bit as far as why it's going to look the way it does and what he's come up with. What kind of RTA do you use?
So I am a diehard audio control guy.
No way.
Right? Diehard audio control guy. I walk around with my 3055, the big bag, for years. And even when I got a DM...
3055 fits perfect in that yellow case.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. You did tell me that.
That's
so Chris finally just hooked me up with the case for my DMRTA because I had worn out my box for my DMRTA. So so let me just tell you, like, anytime you go from something you've been used to for, like, 20 plus years... It took me a long time, even though I had my DMRTA, it took me a long time to wean myself off of my 3055.
Yes, I know. Because I always laughed when you'd be like, oh, I took my 3055.
Right.
All right, so for those, hold on, I'm going to grab the 3055 so you guys can keep talking.
It's been, you know, it's just a process of learning to, not even learning to use it, you're just, it's like breathing, you know? Yeah, you're super comfortable with a 3055, and with a 3055, I don't have to have a computer.
Freaking heavy.
Right? Yeah, it's very heavy. You don't have to have a computer. And I have one of the very upgraded 3055s. So I have the Bright Eyes display that'll do the SPL reading separately. I have a 170 dB upgraded microphone, the printing capability, like all that stuff. And I make sure it stayed calibrated and everything else. So yeah. The tank.
So this is a 3055. I'm sure you guys have
industry
seen this
standard for years.
It has the cool little red lights that are very archaic and almost impossible to read. But as you know, Jeff just said he's...
I'm old school, man.
Total old school. So it sits like this. It has a handle.
I still have my acoustic RTA.
Don't get it down. But anyways, this is what he's talking about. You can still find these probably used.
Yeah, there's lots of them out there.
I don't think they repair them anymore.
I think they still do batteries. I think that's about it.
Yeah.
What's funny is that I'll never forget when I first learned about the RTA from audio control. I saw it. I was watching some TV show one night, and they were trying to see if this guy's voice, if he was disguising his voice to be like someone else on a TV show, and they were using an audio control, and they were storing the pattern of his regular voice and comparing it to the other recording. And I was like, oh my God, they're using this thing on TV. It's so cool. So
we should all have one.
Should all have an RTA.
And of course, that has been replaced
with the DMRTA.
With the DMRTA, which is this.
Yeah. Night and day difference between size, capabilities, and everything else. Yeah, with the little C10 microphone.
Yeah.
So I use the DMRTA probably in the Order 3055 religiously from Audio Control. So what I have start doing now, so in the last probably 2 months, month and a half, I finally purchased the MKT1 from Helix, right? So, so the MKT1, I have it in the car if you want me to go get it. So I have the MKT1. So it's their microphone system that plugs into their software, and that way you can use the internal RTA that's in their DSP, and you can do RTA. You can also do FFT measurements to do auto time correction and things like that. You can import.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, shut up.
So that's one of the things I'm going to talk to you about. That's one of the things I'm going to talk to you about because it did something really weird for me.
Oh, I bet it did.
And when it... Anyway.
Okay. We won't go too far on that tangent. Let's head over to his laptop now, and we'll take a look at the software. So if any of you guys, if you're unfamiliar with the software, the Helix software, of course, you can head over to their website and download it.
Right. So Audio-Tech Fisher PC tool. Let me start it up so they can see what it looks like. And so even now, without having the vehicle here or your DSP here, you guys can download the app and play with it as much as you want.
And any one of their mini DSP
any one of their mini DSPs or DSP amplifiers, you can actually go through from Match, the Helix, through the Brax, the super high end. You can go in and play with any of these. So let me go back up to the Helix P6 MK2, start the demo, load that. All right, then I'm going to load one of my files. Optical input.
Wow, you keep it nice organized.
Oh, hold on. So when you go into here, dude, look at all these files.
Yeah. Oh no, that's what I'm saying. Yours is all organized. Mine is not organized.
All these files. There's more on the other computer. So.
I store mine with date, 0 whatever date, so 01, and then car color, and then I'm starting to add on other information, but it's always so that if we have a good idea of when we're doing something, like we had to redo an amplifier this week, and it was like they were either here in January or February.
Okay.
So I start 01, and it just pops up, and it's like, yep, that was it. Gray Nissan or gray Toyota.
Yeah, I do it by customer because I do lots of tuning for different people. So whether it be using an ARC PS8 or using
mine for customers. Yes.
So
all right, go ahead.
Whether I'm tuning with an ARC DSP or JL Audio DSP, PG DSP, Helix, or Hertz, whatever. So I do them all by brands. So I'm just going to pull this guy up. This is my optical input tune, right?
Optical input. So this is for your little add-on piece.
No, this is for optical from the Amp Pro.
Okay, so this is the Amp Pro.
Yeah. So basically you have the ability to see everything here basically on one screen. You have your left and right high, which is going to be your tweeters. Left and right mid, your mid-range and the dash. Left and right low, that are my mid basses. And then the two outputs to the subwoofers. So basically I followed Andy's guidelines for tuning the Audio Frog drivers. Linkwitz Riley 24 dB per octave crossovers all the way across. And the benefit, if you got, there's options out there. You guys can totally do whatever you want. I particularly like to use the Linkwitz Riley 24 dB because of the benefit in which this type of crossover gives you. So the fact that it's going to give you a flat response at the crossover point, right? One day I think we were here, we were kind of chatting about the boost and the cut, between these two.
A lot.
Right.
A lot.
So the flat summing response at the crossover point. So the tweeters are crossed over at 2.5 or 2500 hertz high pass.
Now, how did you figure out the 2500 hertz?
So 2500 hertz is the recommended crossover point from Andy, but it is also an octave above the resonant frequency of the driver.
Okay.
Right? So with 24 dB is going to make sure that at the resonant frequency you're 24 dB down and you won't cause any damage to the driver.
Perfect.
But there are other tweeters out there like the Morels. Holy Jesus! You can run them down to 1,000 hertz, 800 hertz, whatever, without any damage. You know?
Wideband frequency or wideband mid range. Screw that. Just put a Morel tweeter in the dash.
Casey and those guys built some crazy tweeters, man.
Yeah.
But in this particular
but
application...
even 20... What is it? You said 25. 25 is still actually pretty low.
2,500 is pretty low because the majority of other drivers out there, like you see a lot of the Focals and other brands are about, 5,000 or higher.
Focal recommends 5,000, but most tweeters we find are somewhere around 32.
Right. So 2,500 hertz on this guy here. It is only a high pass, so there is no low pass here. In this screen, and then you can see the channel gain adjustment, and there is 0 phase adjustment, but this is going to be your time correction adjustment here. Tuning is going to be separate per driver because I do EQ the vehicle separately per driver as well.
Overlay the two front tweeters on top of one another. No, I mean just click. Oh, good job, Dean. Just click your overlay on that one.
Hold on.
Just overlay on top.
This guy here, and then come over here and lay my amplitude there.
There you go. So red is the passenger.
No, red is the left.
Red is driver.
Blue is the passenger side.
Okay. And they look different.
Correct. They do look different because of the acoustical response in the vehicle, right? So there's electrical response from signal, and then there's acoustical response that is going to be the actual reflections, the direct sound waves and things like that in the vehicle itself.
Windows.
Seats, windows, headliner, whether the sunroof is open. That's another thing in my car. I have the big panoramic sunroof, right? When I open the sunroof, there is a huge reflection that is killed when the sunroof is closed. When you open it, dude, I want to say it was just above, I want to say it's like 95, like 9.5K. It was some weird frequency, and I saw this huge spike, and I realized that my actual sunroof flap was open. So once I closed it, it killed it off.
So I will tell you right now, most of you people are not going to experience these things. Remember, he's a 1%er.
Yes, definitely part of the 1% people that sit in their cars and listen for hours with their eyes closed in the dark.
Oh my gosh.
I'm telling you, dude, the best times I go out and tune my own car are typically between 2 a.m. and 5 a.m.
I can see that. I mean, it's deadly quiet outside.
It's deadly quiet. I go home. I, let everything, calm down. Let my ears rest. Get some food.
I agree.
The whole house is asleep, and then I will get in the garage and open the door. Dead silence, pitch black, with my little LED light.
Looking all nerdy.
Yep. And
so it looks like in this one, the 4K was giving you some issue.
Correct. There was a big spike in the left side, in the left tweeter, just because. And you got to remember also amplitude differences because that tweeter is closer to you, right? So it can have a reflection there, an early reflection coming directly off the windshield, coming directly at you, and then you're sitting directly next to the driver's window as well. So, and if you move the microphone to the passenger seat, it's the exact same on the other side. But because I'm in the driver's seat, so this tuning is strictly for the driver's seat and for amplitude and for acoustical response and for time correction.
All right. Now, where's your, okay, so looking at your levels there, where's the 0 on the Helix? Are you above, you below? Is everything turned down? Did you go up? I'm looking at the left side there, and that seems to be the 0 point. I see that some of yours are above the 0 point.
Correct.
Some are below.
Correct. So
talk to us about that.
So Helix gives you the ability to go plus 6 dB, right, and all the way down to negative 15, I think it is, or negative 12.
All right.
On their EQ, because technically more cutting, right?
Yeah,
we typically
definitely
tell people to cut before you boost. And typically when I do boost, I don't boost more than 3 dB, typically.
What are the odds of
right?
that?
Because when you boost more than 3 dB, you're asking your amplifier to produce more power at that particular frequency that can cause clipping and distortion and things like that. Not all the time, but there is a capability of that happening.
Well, okay, so one of the things that I believe Andy talks about is if you start with your gain lower than normal, so let's say you start at, I don't know, 6 dB down, and then if you end up having to go up 3 dB on something, you're still 3 dB below where you would normally be.
Exactly. So if you
go, now you can bring your gain up, and you're still. We'll go back.
So if you go back and you look at my output gain here.
Oh, wrong one. Hold on. There we go.
So if you look at my output gain here, I'm already at negative 17.75 dB.
So going up isn't really going to affect
going up
anything.
really isn't a big deal. So that is
that's something to think about that a lot of people don't think about when they're all sitting there and it's like, I'm going to put everything at -5. You know, he's going to do -5 dBs of gain overlap, -5 dBs of gain overlap.
Right.
It's like instead of 0. Starting at 0 might be a better place to start because.
So let me tell you one of the little secrets I do. So when you automatically start a DSP, when you automatically start tuning a DSP, in the Helix, all your output gains are at 0.
Perfect.
Right? The ARC, I'm very familiar with JL. Everyone starts at 0. I automatically...
Audio control 12.
Audio control to -12?
No, +12.
Oh, +12. All right. I automatically start with the DSP and the output level, and I turn it down -6.
Okay.
Right?
Makes sense.
Then I try to push as much signal as I can to make sure I'm getting a super hot signal into the DSP or into your amplifiers so that I can make full volume at that. So this is almost technically like doing your -5 dB overlap or whatever. But so that way I can have as much volume as I can at that -6, right? That allows me to have the ability, if once I get finished tuning the vehicle, if I need a little bit more audio, now I can turn my overall output back up more and still not damage anything.
Yes.
I'm still below the 0 mark.
Yes.
Right? I try to never go plus.
Right.
But there are instances, and you'll see here, where I do go plus.
Hey.
And you'll know why when you see it.
Okay.
But I always try to take it down.
Basically what that's doing is that's giving you the ability to, once you've tuned everything, have some more headroom.
My Sharona. Negative, sir. Negative, sir. Yes, my tweeters are off-axis in the factory locations.
Okay.
And I tune with mono pink noise. So if that's a...
Do you have the downloaded app yet? Have you paid the $20?
No. Kins?
Yes.
I do have it, but I actually have the files from Andy from Audio.
So do I.
Right. So, and they're loaded onto a million.
They're only 10 minutes.
True.
So this one just runs all day long.
Okay, I've never used...
And it goes, and I know, because it runs for 10 minutes, and then it goes... And you hear the
start over.
And I'm like,
so I normally just put it on repeat. So the one thing I really love about the Educar app is that it allows you to go left of center,
yes,
center, right of center. So you can. So that's the thing, and that's something else I'm going to talk about later.
Okay. All right. Let's keep going.
All right. So then you go in and overlay the mid ranges. All right.
Hit it again. One more time.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wrong one.
Yep. There you go.
All right. Left and right mid range. Big differences there.
Big difference. But that's about normal, though.
Right? So when you come over here and you look at the mid-ranges, both of the mid-ranges are playing from 2500 hertz low pass up down to 250.
Oh, wow. That's low.
Think about that, right?
That's low.
250 on a little 2.5-inch mid-range. This is a badass mid-range.
Yes,
this
play
little
down
driver,
to 250 because most of them don't want to play past 350.
Right. This little driver gets it. And there's a few others out there that can play down like that, but for a 2.5, this little guy is awesome.
And you're at negative 13.
And I'm at negative 13 on the driver's side and negative 14 on the passenger side.
2.5 difference.
Right. Go back and look at the tweeters though. I'm negative 17 on the driver's side, 17 3/4, and negative 16 3/4.
Now, okay, so here's a question. Could you not get that same negative result in the EQ? Like just by pulling down the EQ? I mean, I realize just pulling the whole channel down is quicker.
Correct, because I want the entire level to come down.
Okay.
Right? I don't want just one particular
No, I'm saying
frequency.
if you did multiple bands and brought those down. You see
it would, but I don't tonally, right? I don't want to take the life out of a system.
Okay.
A whole bunch of cuts will take the life out of a system.
All right.
And then you don't have anywhere to go. back to get your volume or dynamics back. Because once you fix all the different spikes and things like that in your acoustical response, and then you go to turn the volume up and you're like, I got nothing left. That kick drum doesn't hit you in the chest. You know, when the snares hit, they don't make you blink. You know, when the bass hit, it doesn't make you go, yeah. You know, you know, I mean, once you've done all those cuts, you know, you lose a little bit of life in the system. So I try to strictly use the EQ for that purpose. So let's step back for a second. So process of tuning. My augmented version from everyone I've learned from over the years. First and foremost, when I start the DSP, I set my crossover points. Right, crossover points first. Second thing from there is going to be time correction. Right, so I measure from the driver location to my seated position. I measure to the tip of my nose. That's just me. Right, some guys measure to the headrest, whatever. I measure to the tip of my nose. And with the Helix software, what's really neat about it is that you can do distance mode or you can do delay mode. So if I do delay mode, you have to physically put in the milliseconds that you want, or centimeters, or whatever you want, right? Sorry, milliseconds. You have to do the math, right? Typically, when I have to do the math, I use the TraceRight app. Okay, so the TraceRight app, Aaron Hardison and forget the guy, he killed me, guy in Texas that built the app for him. You literally put in all your measurements and it will do all your calculations for you, right? TraceRight.com. So set time correction. Inside the Helix software.
Do you think it's better to do it that way, or to just use the information in the Helix software?
They both work out to be like the same.
Very similar.
Very same.
I mean,
identical.
All the testing I've done using that same app and all the other DSPs we've tested, it's like 0.0 something maybe different.
There's some other hidden gems that I'm not going to talk about that are out there, but you can't get those without going to certain schools. So, but within the Helix software here, you can do distance mode where you simply measure and you put in your inches or centimeters, depending on where you are in the world. Now let's talk about their ATM, automatic time measurement. So this is a process where you can go in and use their MKT1 microphone system in your seated position where you want to measure from, and you put in the distance of the reference driver, which is the closest driver to you, not the furthest driver to you. Okay. And then you follow their process here, and it will send out a series of tones, right? Oh, and whoop, 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 you know, all that stuff, right? So it's taking full FFT measurements, and it will come back and give you and populate all your time correction. Now they have
the microphone facing up in that picture.
They do, because in their spatial way of using their microphone, they like to take averages. Even there's a auto EQ feature in their system, and they want you to move the microphone around because it's taking averages as it moves around.
Okay.
In this particular way here, the way their microphone is designed, it has openings around it and on top, so it can take a wide variety of angles. Okay. So I had already used the TraceRight program and done time correction previously before. And one of the things that when I got the MKT1 and did the auto time correction, all of my time correction adjustments were dead on, maybe 1 or 2 points difference. But the thing that really helped me, you ready for this?
Yes.
Look at the subwoofers. It added
a lot.
0.11 milliseconds, right, to the subwoofers. And that little bit of difference went from my mid-bass being yes to my mid-bass being oh God. Right? 5 degrees of phase difference, 5.625 degrees of phase difference made a huge increase in that particular setup. And the fact that, I mean, it was a good thing for me to try that, right? So it really worked out.
Yes.
And phase is extremely important, right? In everything you do in a DSP, we all understand crossovers. We've had crossovers for years. Passive, big, huge, electronic crossovers. Crossovers are nothing new. We've all had EQs, in-dash EQs, underdash EQs, trunk mounted EQs for years. There's nothing new with EQing. Alpine were the king of parametric EQs. Orion used to do parametric EQs.
Oh, yeah.
Parametric EQ has been around for a long time, and parametric EQ is a skill set that a lot of guys don't like. I particularly like it, and I loosely use it in certain scenarios.
Yes.
But the biggest thing that a DSP gives you is the ability to not have to run to the trunk 50 times like we have done in my years, or extend all your RCAs up front so you can sit your EQTs or your Phoenix 230 in your lap and be able to tune that way. But it allows you to do all this in one location and digitally, and be able to make an adjustment and defeat it. Make an adjustment on the fly and listen to it and say, you know what, screw everything I did today, let me go back to what I already had. Right? So that on top of time correction.
Yes.
Time correction, phase. That is something that previously we only had in phase or 180 degrees out.
Correct.
Right? Then came some of the, audio control had their 24XS that had the sweeping wave adjustment. PPI came out with their PSE 221 that had dual adjustable phase capabilities. Like, that was a thing that really took Alma's truck, the SPL truck, above and beyond what it was, because they were able to time align all of our subwoofers and get all of them to arrive at the exact same time, and it pushed her dB score up tremendously. Right? So phase adjustment or time correction is the most, and to me, is the most important thing.
So you keep interchanging phase correction and time alignment, but they're two totally different things.
They are two totally different things, but the time correction adjustment in your system is measured in degrees of phase. So it's like saying, hey, do you want a Coke? And you say, no, I want a Mountain Dew. In some places,
yeah,
a Coke is a Mountain Dew.
Yeah, that's a weird place.
Right.
Yeah.
The South.
Yeah.
Right?
We're in the South, but the other South.
What type of Coke do you want? Mountain Dew, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, so time and phase are definitely related. Are related to each other.
Yes.
So that's a big deal. Having your mid-range and your mid-bass tweeter, because of the frequency response in the tweeter and where it falls in the realm of frequency, tweeter time correction is not as important as frequency intensity, right? So at that high frequency range, as you get higher above 1,000 hertz, the higher you get above 1,000 hertz, it becomes more about intensity or volume level to balance those two, right? Because hearing phase at those frequencies is a lot harder and not as key. Is it important? Yes, but it's more about the relationship of output level.
Well, especially when you have in your case, you have a tweeter placed down at 25. That's phases, getting the time alignment on that is real important.
Real important, right?
Because
Right. So then you get into your your mid-range. The mid-range does 75% of the audio in your vehicle in a three-way system, right?
Yes.
If you had a two-way system, it would be your mid-bass driver. So having that mid-range dialed in, and like next month, we're getting ready to go to the Lone Star Shootout, which is a big, huge triple organization sound quality competition in Frisco, Texas at Car Toys. So it's going to be Ayaska, Emma, and Mecca there, and all the big guys. We have over 60 cars pre-registered for this event. Huge, massive event, right? And I'm going to be their head Emma judge. So,
you want me to come there and carry your thing, your purse?
So
I'm just here working for.
So the money round on Sunday, right? They're doing $10,000 money round, right?
Wow.
And it gets spread out through all the people that qualify. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is that Nick Wingate, Nick.
Yes,
Nick's been on the show many times.
Everyone knows Nick.
Nick is going to be there, and Nick and James Feltenberger, who have been two guys who have been very instrumental in, friends of mine for long years. James is the head judge for Sunday's Money Round. James used to be the Ayaska judges training coordinator for many years, and has taught us along the way. I mean, James is like that guy that you respect on a judging level above and beyond the Call of Duty. If there was like certain people you had to listen to as far as tuning for competition, I mean, it would be James, Mark Eldridge. I mean, like guys know.
Right.
You know, it would be like guys like this.
But okay, so not to interrupt that, but you made an interesting point. Tuning for competition.
Tuning for competition.
There's a difference between tuning for competition
difference
and tuning for what
daily.
we all like to call sound quality daily.
Right, or SQL.
Whoa, I'm not going to do the loud
right.
thing.
So, yeah, there's a huge difference. And this is why you see out on the internet and all these different companies, there's the 5-minute tune, the 10-minute tune, and, you know, we joke about all this stuff. But for a regular everyday shop like you guys, right? When you have a customer coming in to get a system done, they may not want driver's seat tuned in for pinpoint imaging where your images are all as big as a tennis ball or a softball or whatever else. They may just want good, loud sound. You know, like we were just talking about the Jeep. No DSP.
Yeah.
Right? Just replacing everything with good equipment and keeping the system the way it is. But so that's one thing about our industry is that we, as professionals in our industry, when you are going to deliver a DSP or sell a DSP to a customer, it is extremely important to find out that customer's understanding and knowledge. So the best thing to do is to have a working demo to show them. Because if they don't understand center, left of center, right, all they know is, dude, I want it loud. I want to be able to drop my top. I want to be able to roll my windows down. I want to impress my girlfriend, impress my buddies. They may not be concerned about sound quality. Now, they may want a good quality audio system, but they may not want or understand time correction. Just like yesterday, the guy who I tuned his F-150. I literally gave him a preset that was sound quality with some bass, right? So it was imaging for the driver's seat, everything else. And then his second preset was front stereo, right? No time correction.
Right.
It was for having multiple people in the car, and it was the same EQ curve, right? Because you do your EQ curve to make sure everything is in line and smooth response and sound quality is really good. But it was the same curve with a few little differences and different crossover points so that he could really turn his volume up and really blow his head off if he wanted to. Right? So that's just one of the things that, and everyone needs to understand that when you're tuning a DSP, you have to know the difference between daily sound quality, right, and competition. And I'm not even going to say competition. If someone's really concerned about imaging, I mean, I would say that. It's imaging more than just competition, because this is why I chose a director in my system for 22 presets, is because literally, no joke, I have a preset for 3 different judges. No joke. I have a preset for Justin Polk, who is one of my buddies. I've known him for millions of years. And Justin's a mid-bass freak. So I tune my mid-bass up a little bit for Justin. Then I have a preset for Tony Pasquale. Tony's a sub-bass guy. I leave my mid-bass back a little bit where I like it, but I bring my sub-bass up a little bit just for Tony. Because I know their characteristics.
Right.
And once you've been judged by these guys so many times,
they tell you the same thing.
And you see your score sheet, you know what? That's why I love this particular setup, because I can choose through any one of my presets for different organizations and for different judges.
So. Now, for those of you that are obviously not in the competition world, just make it sound good and have fun. All right, so we are pushing the limits of time here.
Okay.
Let's fast forward a little bit, and I apologize. I really wanted to get as much information from Jeff as we possibly could. I hope you guys have enjoyed this so far. I know some of you are like, oh my God, you guys are going late. We're going to try to wrap this up here. Let's take a look at the final product of what this tune turned out to be.
Right. So this is adding the subwoofers in and the mid-bass drivers. So that's your tweeter mid-range mid-bass. These tweeter mid-range. These are your left mid-bass, your right mid-bass.
Not a lot of adjustment there.
Not a super ton when you're looking at the mid-bass drivers. There is a little bit of boost on the bottom. There's some boost.
There's some fat bottom happening.
To help anchor that mid-bass sub-bass transition. That subwoofer sounds like it's up front in the vehicle. Then you have your subwoofer, and there's a ton of boost.
That's what you get.
Right.
Wow, yeah, there's a ton of boost there.
There's a ton of boost in the bottom end, but it is according to the output capabilities of my system.
Yes.
That boost does not damage anything. That boost does not do anything, because
no.
I have 6 dB of boost extremely low, right?
Well, you're also at negative 12.
My negative 12, right?
Yeah, so technically you're still 60 dB under.
I'm well within my capabilities of this particular system. So another really cool thing about the Helix, and I don't know if you've ever played with that Mini that you guys have, is that you can actually go in and you can look at phase responses.
Does that tie in with the microphone?
This is the acoustical phase response, right? So this is, okay, so there's you can activate all pass filters within the software to adjust phase at a particular frequency, right? Let me turn these amplitude responses off, right? And these are your phase responses according to the acoustical adjustment and crossover points in your system.
So this gets really, really confusing. If you'll notice, it's the zigzaggy line there because how this actually is you have to think of it as a cylinder, and so you're getting this spinning that's happening.
So what's really neat is the straight line, right? So you see, like, it goes all the way up. Let me turn all of them off but one.
Yeah.
So this is going to show you the fact that it mirrors itself, right? It mirrors itself completely from from negative 25 all the way up to, this is a complete 360.
Yes.
So this is a wash. So this puts everything back in phase in each scenario. So this is, I mean, it's a really cool capability. And the fact that the EQ section in the Helix software, it's a 30-band EQ per driver. And over here, the fine adjustment allows you to turn any one of these output bands to either a low shelf, a parametric EQ, right, where you can adjust the Q and boost and cut, and then you can also turn it into an all-pass filter. So you have that ability.
Any band you can turn into an all-pass?
You can adjust the all-pass on the two furthest bands, right? Because typically you're not going to have more than two all-pass filters on a driver. So you can take 25 and 20K and use those as all-pass filters.
That gets us into a whole nother discussion that I'm sure we'll have to. Yeah. There again, we'll have Jeff back on, and we'll pick up from where we've left off. We'll get into discussions like all pass filters and stuff like that. Hold on, let me. Sorry.
It's okay. Tell you I said hi.
Haley's pinging the shit. Anyways,
sorry, Haley.
All right, guys, listen. That's it. We're gonna end it there. I know this is one of those topics that is great. Definitely go back and rewatch some of this. Hopefully, it's one. Yeah. Okay.
Bring tacos.
Exactly. Cubans. No, they want Cubans.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
Cuban
nice.
Breeze. You ever been there?
No.
Cuban Breeze, right up the street in Oldsmar.
Okay.
You'll love it. All right, listen, guys. We want to thank Jeff Smith so much for coming on and just giving us just a sprinkle, as it were, of the knowledge that is just in this melon of his, stuck underneath his blue hat.
Yep.
We hope you enjoy this. Like I said, we'll have him back on again, hopefully sooner rather than later, and we'll get more dig deep into this. As you guys know now, you can, because we've had him on before in the past. We've never got to go full Jeff Smith. Today we got to do some full Jeff Smith. And since we've already got the pre-story taken care of, think of this as episode 1. We found out about Jeff Smith, who he is, and we learned what's in the car. So when we get him back on, we can just go straight into more DSP talk with that.
Hopefully everything will still be the same.
It won't be. It won't be the same at all. Come on, let's not kid ourselves.
The Prelude's got to come, man. The Prelude's got to come.
You got to finish a project.
Yeah.
All right. Listen, guys, thank you so much for spending your time with us. If you want to use the cool tools that we do, you can find that at dnftooldrawer.com. If you want to be like, hey, I know Jeff Smith, you want to pick up his cool t-shirt, you can head over to teespring.store/5star, where you can find the cool Jeff Smith t-shirt. And of course, we're on Patreon. And we'll be back Monday at 6:30. Fernando and I will be taking your questions. We'll be having fun. And that's it. That's it, guys. Remember, it's Saturday night. I guess that makes it all right. He said, hey, baby. Anyways, you ain't got enough gas. Okay. So, Uber, Lyft, you know the deal. Don't do things stupid. If you're doing things stupid, let somebody else take you home. Wear a mask. Be safe. Do all those fun things that everyone tells you to do. Thank you, Jeff Smith, for coming.
No
you
problem.
guys have a wonderful night as always. And
Have a great
we'll
weekend,
see you later
guys.
next time.
See ya.
Bye.